And hello, here we are. We are live. Hi, everyone. This is Dane Dormio. Welcome to the Tai Chi web show. I'm here with my good buddy Andrew Brown, and I'm going to ask you some questions today, Andrew, about Tai Chi and injury recovery, because we talked about Tai Chi and injury prevention before, and it kind of went in this direction. I said, "Wow, we could just there's so much about that we could talk about." So. I think this is really important for a lot of reasons, for a lot of people, for a lot of reasons. I mean, almost everybody I know who's done anything, who's been alive for basically
all the people you know who've been alive, huh?
for long enough can relate to having like some kind of old injury, maybe that never quite heals properly, or just having a more severe injury and wanting to recover from it as quickly as possible. And there's a lot of insight into this and knowledge in this in the Tai Chi world. So what can you share about Tai Chi and injury recovery? Lost you for just a second there.
Yeah. Well, we can reset and then start over if you want.
No, we're good now. I was just like, in terms of Tai Chi and injury recovery, like what does Tai Chi have to tell us about injury recovery?
Oh, well, one of the things about Tai Chi is it's difficult to get injured doing Tai Chi. The practice is done slow, and if you have a good teacher, even if you're doing push hands and contact, they know how to protect you and they don't really injure you. So that's one of the best things about Tai Chi, that, in my opinion, because I've gotten hurt many times doing karate. Even with good teachers, they still can hurt you. But Tai Chi inspires your whole body to, it just gets the blood flowing, gets that chi flowing. And by improving your blood flow, improving your circulation, your body heals itself naturally. And that's what every single doctor would ever tell you, is like, I can't heal you. Your body heals you. I just open up the pathways to let it heal you. That's basically all it's doing. So Tai Chi is just constantly, by practicing Tai Chi and doing the exercises, you're supporting those native systems and making it just easy for your body to do the things it's supposed to do anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. I love that, because that's I tell people all the time when I'm teaching that it's that your body, all we're doing is allowing your body to work the way it's supposed to work, just helping it regulate itself. And for plenty of people can relate to the terms you're using of chi flowing the body and opening the chi flow and stuff like that. And if you can't relate to that, it doesn't matter, because it's just, this is what your body naturally does. Your body naturally wants to grow and heal and regenerate. That's why you have a body. Yes. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be here, and none of us would be here, in fact. And that's just the way your body is. That's because that's the way life is, and your body's a living thing. Mm-hmm. and so it's a matter of not so much this is wrong with you, so you do this to fix it, as much as it is just a matter of when the tide comes in, all the boats rise.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So by doing Tai Chi, we just support our natural system, and you're just amplifying whatever is already there.
Yeah, that's all very great and philosophical sounding, but what about practically? I mean, what can we do that's practical?
Well,
without having even without having master all the 18 Lohan palms and walk through the 27 chambers and carry water through the 37 chambers and fight the Uzi wielding monkeys to death at the end. Just like what are very practical things that Tai Chi has for recovery from chronic injury, things that are kind of old and lasting, or as well as acute kinds of things that are recent.
Well, one of the things I've found in martial arts, and especially Chinese martial arts, is asthma. A lot of people have this problem with their breath and holding on to their breath, where once you start treating just basic breathing as a skill and you practice it like, oh, this is something I should get better at instead of just something I do all the time and it's just natural. Well, if you learn to breathe better, then everything improves, especially tying in your breath with action. So every single action you do, you should tie in your breath with that action, because your breath is basically the energy that powers the action. So that was a huge thing to me. Once I started treating my breathing as a skill instead of just as a passive thing that's happening, that was like night and day, huge difference.
In terms of injury recovery and rate of healing?
Definitely that's part of it. Because when you breathe with a stretch, you can do a deeper stretch and you can tolerate the pain sensation much better. So there's just a lot of things that happen when you start breathing with the action. A lot of things just open up. Injury recovery is obviously just getting more blood to go through that area that's injured. And the more blood that gets there, the more oxygen gets there, and the more garbage, CO2 that gets pulled out, the more lactic acids that come out, and then you just naturally heal and you improve yourself quickly by having good circulation.
Yeah, I love that there's so much there. And in terms of chi flow and blood flow, you can almost think of those as the same thing. I mean, if you wanted to. And the more blood is good, more blood flow is good, right? I mean, that's how it doesn't get much more basic and simple than that. And so improving circulation is kind of is the basis of all healing. I mean, no healing can take place without circulation, and the more circulation there is, it can only be good for the healing and rejuvenative process. So I love that you point out that breathing as a skill, as something you practice and get good at, is so huge in this and everything. It really is, and it's so funny because I was just reading a chapter in a textbook that was written about Wim Hof and the laboratory experiments where he's able to teach people how to regulate their endocrine systems and their immune systems, and of course withstand extreme cold through breathing primarily, and stuff that goes on internally, mentally. So there's so much significance to breathing as something as something to continually explore and expand and continually get better at, even though it's something that you do all the time automatically, unconsciously. And an example I love to use is with driving. A lot of people drive all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean you continually get better at driving the longer you drive. And if you do it automatically and unconsciously, unless you do it in a particular way, and that's true with anything, with any skill, and just breathing as not just something that happens or just something that you do, but as a skill, a life skill, a fundamental life skill that is so huge.
Yes. Thank you for agreeing with me.
I'm agreeing with the fundamental
the fundamental
nature
truth
of the universe. So yes.
Yeah.
What are there any more more kind of even more like kind of practical nuts and bolts things related to injury recovery that Tai Chi has to share?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that Tai Chi teaches us is to isolate and separate our body. So we have like the top half and the bottom half. So you make the top half empty and the bottom half full so that you have a really strong balance and really strong stance. But then when someone pushes on your torso, they just kind of slide away. That kind of isolation. So when you have an injury, you obviously want to isolate the injury from effort. So if you have a broken arm, you don't want to be trying to use your broken arm to lift something. So you want to make sure that it becomes still and empty. And so it doesn't take the muscles don't contract, but your right side so you break your left arm, but your right side still has to do stuff. You want to isolate. So isolating the muscle groups, isolating the control, that's really big. So that's one more thing.
That's such a beautiful application of the principle of empty and full, as you say, or isolation, to put it in in Western terms. But and the principle of empty full, which is that's a maybe a more subtle thing or something that you'll only really get if you do it, if you practice, if you practice and you know what that is, but if you haven't actually experienced it, then it's just an intellectual concept. But something that I think all of us can relate to is stress, and in physical as well as mental. And there's mental stress is one thing, but in terms of physical stress, like stress on joints, stress on the body, that's something that everyone can feel and aware of. If you don't know what chi is, if you aren't sure if you recognize full and empty, you know what stress feels like. You know what it feels like when you're stressing yourself or some part of yourself, and so what I'd add to this would be that making a practice of minimizing and reducing the stress, and this is kind of built into the practice, that you're minimizing and reducing stress on your body in terms of, I've codified it as the non-exertion principle. It's essentially the 70% rule is also how it's been put, but that you train yourself, much like with any meditative or mind-body practice. You train your mind, you train your body to not force and not strain and not overexert, and it's the same for injury prevention as well as injury recovery. Give that part of your body the right amount of stress that it needs to heal, or pressure, it would be a better term, the right amount of pressure that it needs for rejuvenative purposes, because that's a fundamental law of physiology that tissue grows in response to a certain threshold of pressure. And just building in that as a fundamental habit, of fundamental awareness of paying attention to the stress that you're causing, and that you're inflicting upon yourself or parts of yourself, and obviously that awareness of empty and full or isolating the body is exactly what you're talking about. And the other thing I'd also add in terms of practical injury recovery is the whole herbal medicinal side of the traditional Chinese medicine. Qigong is the energy practice side, and then there's of course there's acupuncture, and there's all kinds of herbs, and there's herbs that there's things that you can use that are readily available. And one of the most common ones is Dit Da Jiao, which is a formula that's great for bruises and sprains, and helps anything heal faster. And that's just, I'm speaking from my personal experience. I've found that to be a wonderful thing to have around over the years, and a few other things. But there's that's commonly used formula in martial arts. So that dimension, especially for if you're training regularly and you occasionally get bruises and whatnot. It's great. It's great to have that kind of thing on hand, along with the standard safe first aid kit and that kind of thing.
Well, one of my favorite things to do is self-massage. So getting a nice lotion, or even while you're in the shower, just turning off the water and just rubbing in that soap and getting that slickness, and just going down your muscles like 20 to 30 times whenever you have strain or pain, especially soreness after a hard workout. Self-massage is huge. It'll help you recover much quicker. You won't get those Charlie horses. So I used to get a lot of Charlie horses until I started massaging properly. So yeah, just self-massage is huge, and that's a great benefit that we can all practice. It's pretty easy. So go get a few massages from a good therapist, and then just kind of memorize what they were doing, and you can learn a lot of methods without having to go to school.
yeah. Basically, that's a great thing to emphasize too in this regard is all the rejuvenative self-care kind of practices associated with Qigong. Generally, there's from various kinds of self-massage and exactly the whole the rubbing and the patting process, and a lot of the opening kind of processes or things that are kind of massage techniques, and just putting your own hands on your own body in a therapeutic way regularly is huge too. And what about from a like a precautionary standpoint? I mentioned like having a first aid kit obviously is a good thing to have in like a regular training environment, an ordinary first aid kit, and what other kinds of things along that line should be incorporated into the overall picture related to this?
Well, of course, yeah, like you said, a basic first aid kit. Bandages are always, Neosporin, that kind of stuff. Disinfectants, those are great, because I've cut myself many times playing with swords. And sit in your garage for a few months. They're probably not the cleanest weapons you could cut yourself with. So you want to make sure you treat those wounds properly. I remember a friend of mine, he right across his forehead, he was doing a broadsword form, and it just does this move where it goes over your head. Didn't go over the head, just cut right across. So blood everywhere, had to get cleaned up, get stitches. It's just part of training with metal. So make sure you're prepared to heal yourself if you need to. Like Dit Da Jiao is good to have for those bruises, those general skin issues. Good lotions, oils. One of the tools I have is I have a little ball, like it's a roller that you can roll across your body, and it amplifies the self-massage, because you can push yourself hard with your knuckles and with your palms, but having little tools and little lotions to help those tools is good for you too.
And if I'm not mistaken, you have some kind of certification in first aid or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as my father was a paramedic, and so early on I was on first aid. I learned CPR before I was 7. So just knowing how to bring someone's breath and their heartbeat back, that's that's definitely a minimum skill that I think all people should learn and have, because it took a long time for us to figure that stuff out, and it's so easy once you learn it. So it's something that anyone can learn and anyone can do. And Heimlich maneuver, CPR, knowing how to use an AED, knowing how to bandage a wound, these are all things that everyone can learn. I think you can learn it for free in most cities. Go to a fire department and ask them for assistance. They'll probably send you to a free class. So that's definitely something I recommend.
Yeah, great. Those are great considerations to take into account for the overall picture as it relates to this sort of thing. And the the overall picture is, of course, always avoidance is better than recovery.
Yes.
So that's the big picture, and then as you point out, injury is a fact of life, whether it's acute injuries acquired from overuse, or chronic injuries acquired from underuse.
Yeah, sitting on the couch all day and watching TV, sitting at a desk all day, playing on your computer, those do not help your body live a good life. Keep you stimulated.
Yeah.
You gotta stimulate your mind and your body. If you only stimulate your mind, well, your body will start to fail. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't use your body, you lose your body. That's very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
great. Well, this is at least some kind of overview of what could obviously be a much deeper topic, but there's a lot of great information and great insight, and there's some really solid gold nuggets in here that hopefully people will find practical and effective and easy to incorporate into their daily life, because that's really what this whole thing is about, is the small habits that make a big difference in the overall quality of your life. So
yeah.
So really honor, appreciate your sharing, brother. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, Dane. I'd love to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, great. We'll be back on again soon, and I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Talk to you later, brother.
All right. Signing off.